You know, there's these huge, long to-do lists, and they're getting longer and longer and longer, and you never get to an end. Expectations usually stem from beliefs. A man has to make money. If it's just to meet certain regulative expectations, well, it's not really doing any good. It has to be accompanied by the emotional track. To do this in an impactful way, you have to lead by example. You have to be it. No excuses.
The last time you felt really joyful?
No.
No.
I've been raised in Germany, and my mind said, no. You have to have a plan for the day. You cannot just be the mind that is set up for criticize, correct, control. Criticize, correct, control. There is per se nothing bad in stereotyping. The question is, are we aware of that? And do we go beyond to look at the individual?
Kathrin, I'm super grateful and excited to have you in this podcast. And I would like, as I'm used to with you, I like to start our podcast, if you like, with exercise to charge our energy. Maybe you lead us with your favorite exercise in the beginning.
Absolutely. So one of my favorite exercises is just to take a deep breath, and we have this psychological sigh we can do. Okay, so it is a deep inhale into and a long exhale. And once again, and another time, 1. So I love to work with breath, it is connecting us. And that's why I chose this exercise to tune in.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Kathrin. And I like this because it always, when you start with it in the uni, it brings me back to the present moment. So I was thinking, okay, let's do it also here. So also who's listening to us, maybe get inspired also by these small exercises that can change your energy. I like to start with you with the first question, which is, what is your why? Why the United States of you? Why the Academy of Joy? And why do you do what you do?
That is because I firmly believe and I know about, the great things human beings can do if they allow themselves to be who they really are. And that is my why, to kind of unpack and unfold, or help people to unpack and unfold themselves to shine as bright as our light really shines. That is why I have developed, this approach, how you can do this. This is why I have written the United States of You. This is why I have founded the Joy Academy. It is really to get to the next level, if you wish, of human mankind, and to support that, and the vision is to interact, among human beings, conscious human beings, in a way without drama, without fight, in a very peaceful, co-creative way. That's my why.
As I ask my guests about their why, I also like to share mine. Why I started the Core Impact podcast. After working across companies, cities, and cultures, I kept noticing the same pattern. Most people around me were burned out, disengaged, and only lived for the weekend. I also experienced it myself. I went through a burnout, and I knew since then that I couldn't come back to the same patterns and mindset. What I've learned since, from connecting with experts and personal experiences is that small shifts in routines and mindset can dramatically reduce stress and lead to more fulfilling work. That's why I created this podcast, to explore how can we build workplaces that are joyful, meaningful, and sustainable from the inside out, where profit meets purpose, because real impact starts at the core.
That's what life is about. It brings us always great experiences, and it's just a matter of attitude. And what do we do? Are we aware of this, or are we, in our patterns? Are we blindfolded? Yeah.
So, Kathrin, in the in the boardrooms,
It's getting better and better, isn't it? Well, I should invite conscious me here. The enemy in your bed, actually. This is very often what happens in the boardrooms and in the inner team. Well,
so in the boardrooms, it's normal and everyone usually wants to talk about the mind. And the question is, how do you include the heart and the body when you talk to CEOs, when it's like in professional settings, without looking too soft or unprofessional?
There are already a lot of beliefs in there, right? what softness is, what professionalism is, right? Yeah, well, very, very often, most people, they have, especially in the boardrooms, they have health issues. They do, if they admit it to themselves or not, have some mental health issues. They feel stressed. So basically, what I do is I ask them if they are open for experiments, if they want to take the risk to experiment, and if they want to learn more. And as we are in the middle of a huge transition worldwide, many minds are very open towards new things because it dawns to them that what we have been doing in the past is of limited effect, is of limited use. I'm not saying that it's useless, not at all, but the preparedness, the readiness to open up, just to check out new things, has increased. And it's about, usually people in the boardroom, they are curious, they are risk takers to some extent. So that is where I invite them to follow me and to experiment a bit, and to offer a menu, to offer exercises. And I very often start with how we started the session, a short breathing exercise that instantly has an effect. And then it makes a skeptical mind very quickly a very open mind, saying, oh, aha. That's the first little aha moment. And that is the point. I always integrate, the mind. There is no point in bashing the mind and beliefs and mental models. It's all about integration. It's all about co-creation, and that is what I do.
If you can give me examples of after you work with leaders, with CEOs, and especially people who are already stressed, under pressure, have you noticed what is the cost of not listening to your body first and also to your emotions?
The cause. Well, we are living in a multifaceted, multi-causal world. So there is usually not one cause, but if we want to pull it or pin it down to one, is pressure. Our entire economic system, our business world is based on pressure. Pressure is, a part of the whole system. So usually this pressure is so high that people are super busy to just play catch up. You know, there's these huge, long to-do lists, and they're getting longer and longer and longer, and you never get to an end. This makes you restless. This is what I mean with catch up. You never get to the done. Oh, okay, now I can relax point. And well, this kind of pressure that is inherent in the system, that comes from shareholders, that everyone, regardless of the function, knows that pressure, and that comes also from the inside, expectations. My own expectations towards myself. I have to turn around the business within 2 years, for instance. Says who? Right? That's my own expectation. I need to provide. I'm the breadwinner. I need to provide for my family, or, the whole clan, or whatever it is. Expectation. My own expectations towards myself. So if we look at it very thoroughly, we find out that usually our expectations that are part of the mind are very strong, keeping ourselves under pressure and preventing us from listening to other parts that belong to us. For instance, the body, or that are us, if you wish, the body, the heart.
And when you talk about expectations, I want to have more clarity. Do you say that it's better not to have expectations if you wanna do something that you love and go in flow, etc., or question your expectations and not just like always think that I have to be the best, I have to be perfect, etc., or any other expectations in your mind that you say, okay, do I really want this? Do I have to do this? Or this is something that is like I have maybe either something that's unconscious that I inherited that's leading me in my life, or other things that are maybe I have to work inside of myself first because I put these expectations. So are we talking about expectations as something bad in this situation?
Well, it's not something bad, but as always, when I have unconscious patterns, when I do something not awareingly, then I'm on autopilot. Then I'm potentially acting against my own best interest. So therefore, I'm not saying expectations per se are bad. I'm not arguing, by the way, in either or, it's good or bad, but it is just expectations. So, and the first challenge is to be aware of these expectations. Now, expectations usually stem from beliefs. A man has to make money to be interesting, or to be regarded, acknowledged in the society, for instance. Yeah. Now, that is an expectation. And this we were talking board members, many are male, therefore I was mentioning this example. So, and the first step now is to dive deeper from these expectations, to first become aware, oh, that is not a must, but this is an expectation. So this makes life already a bit lighter, to give you more decision-making space. Do I, as Mark or John, or if that's then a female CEO, or Mary, or whoever, do I want that? Do I myself subscribe to these expectations? Do I consciously want to meet them? That's the question. So first of all, we have to be aware expectations to clarify. Therefore, I have also a tool, expectation tracker, that you can clarify very awareingly your expectations you have towards yourself, others might have towards you. In order not to judge, are these good or bad expectations, but to understand, are these really, if I had the free choice now, would I choose these? Huh? So, and that is basically leading me to the second, expectations. So first I need to identify to identify the expectations as such. And then I can dive deeper into the beliefs, the underlying beliefs, and think of, well, is that what I personally believe in? Or is that what my parents or my teachers or my investors believe in? Now, that is a process that starts, and that is like stock taking, and that gives me, this process gives me more clarity on, hey, what do I personally, as Kathrin, for instance, what do I stand for? What is my essence? If I had the free choice, now how would I live this life in the next minute? And that is the question, and that is this longer process of understanding that usually we want, or we are brought up to meet expectations. First of all, to understand this, and again, many people are brought up to meet expectations. They meet expectations, and nothing wrong with that. It only gets weird when you have this inner, this a growing discontent or a growing feeling of imbalance, that you feel, what am I doing there? This is this little inner voice, first a whisper, and it might get louder, and then it's getting a bit uncomfortable, continuing as if nothing had happened, because you have this nagging inner voice tells you, what are you doing there, by the way? Is this what we as, the inner team, as the person stand for? Then talking we and you mentioned the United States of you. The title of a book I wrote. Just let me demystify, let's say, the title. So it is a state of being. So we are in different states of being. So it is about awareness, that I'm aware of my mental state of being, of my physical state of being, of my emotional state of being, and that, therefore united, that I unite, that I integrate, that not following just unawareingly one part, such as the mind. Yeah? That is the idea. So to look at oneself with, as with the aim, let's say, of the goal to balance these states, first of all, to take stock of these states, and then to balance them off and be a united, more harmonious, more balanced being. That's the point.
It's very interesting. And I was like kind of laughing at myself. You said also in your book, laughing is part of the process when you are learning more about yourself on this L loop. When I asked you, expectations, are these bad thing? Like, is it bad to have expectations? And then I was like, okay, I am asking the same questions that I was not stopping, like to ask myself, or stop to have this black and white. Yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, how this journey goes, and I think this is a very important thing also that you mentioned. When you go to this self-discovery journey, there are moments when you see, okay, this pattern, it's okay, it's fine, it's funny, I'm enjoying that, I'm realizing it, instead of blaming myself, how did I do it again, right?
That is absolutely important. I talked about these United States. We can also give them names, or maybe even, how they look. So this is an inner development, a self-development, an inner leadership approach I have developed that works exactly like as if you were managing and leading a team, at work. So that makes it easier to also address ourselves in a very focused way. Here, everything that has to do with thoughts, that is the mind speaking with a little figure. I can show you that one here. Here is the mind as a representative, of the team player. And we have the heart. The heart here also is a representative, because we tend to forget it. And we have the body. The body is not so easy to forget because we look at it very often. And then we have what we've been talking about, consciousness. That is conscious me. And why, these representatives, these symbols, to, personify and to visualize invisible aspects in our inside. For many people, this is very abstract. What is awareness? What is consciousness? What is emotions? Very abstract. What are thoughts? Yeah, thoughts maybe. So now we have these inner players, we have these inner team members. We can start a relationship with and start to understand in a very focused way. And that helps us, this understanding ourselves. Like if I have a mixed team, an international team, and I gradually learn how, Mary ticks and how Lee ticks, and very different people from diverse environments, and this is the same here. You have seen them. They are very colorful. They are difficult to overlook, and that is how I also work, by the way, also in boardrooms, to introduce these little figures, to say, wow, that's us. And if you look at them, and if you were talking about laughing, you can't help to smile, really. You say, "Ooh, wow, oh, that's part of me." It gives you a smile, and that is the beginning of self-acceptance or even self-love. You think, oh, or you can say, oh, wow, they are cute, but at the end of the day, I'm cute. I'm regardless of male or female, because it's so a bit clumsy in this process. As you mentioned, I went and I fell into my own trap again. Yes, of course. I have done it like that for 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, depending on our age. And, of course, the power of habit, that is so strong. And habit, it's thought habits, it's emotional habits, it's physical habits. And of course, we know it from neurosciences, how often we need to repeat something new to make it stick. So, self-blame for falling back into old patterns is not doing it's not doing us any good at all. Yeah.
Let's change with joy.
Yeah.
Or enjoy.
Exactly. And enjoying ourselves, and that is why I also love group coaching sessions, that, that we share this, that we do not, our minds do not start to blame us again, but that we share and look at this as a natural, normal, if you wish, process, that of course we do fall back into old patterns. And this is why I've developed this looping process. It's not a linear process, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how the mind would like to have it, but this is a non-linear process. Awareness, consciousness is non-linear. It's in spirals.
You mentioned also before that inclusion starts from within. Now, talking about inclusion coming from the sustainability reporting, diversity, inclusion, I still see that the collective consciousness, even with the regulation, and so there's an obsession of, even if you want to implement these things, we have to have KPIs. So to make sure that we have inclusion in our company, we have to have 50-50 males and females. We have to have X and Y here and there. How can you explain and inspire companies to and CEOs to start the inclusion from within and not be over obsessed about these numbers, because then the inclusion, the real inclusion, will happen automatically.
Well, let's just go one step back, and the numbers, the passion to measure, that's the mind. Yeah. So, and most business are built on, this mind, strategy implementation, strategy development, vision. So this is I call it the 12 alignments. This is an overall framework I have developed to aggregate, let's say, the entire inner teamwork also to the entire company. So it's not only in one person, but it is in the entire company. So KPIs, for instance, are the reflection of the mind. Now, to balance this off and to come to real inclusion, and that is conclusive, that is not only meeting KPIs, because this is expected, but felt. That is, at the end of the day, we want to have the feeling, we want to have open questions, we want to have a proactive, open-minded and open-heartedness to ask others that are, well, obviously different from us, for their perspective, just to learn, right? To get new impulses. So we have to include, therefore, the emotional track, if we wish. And that is, I say it in organizational terms, that is KBIs, if we want to measure that. Of course, that is qualitative, not quantitative. So key behavioral indicators. Now, what do I do? What is my basic attitude? So I would highly recommend to organizations to work with their values, in the sense to translate, not to pin values at the wall, the wall doesn't need them, but to really have them in the heart, to help employees, to help organizational members to translate these core values into their daily communication behavior. And that is then key behavioral indicators. Then we could come up, that is what I do, basically with a menu or, of questions, of behaviors that people want to see among themselves, really, and then establish a feedback system that, basically everyone can give everyone feedback on those behaviors. So you can, that is something that would be a balancing off. Of course, KPIs to some extent can also work as to kick off something, as a bit of, I talked about pressure before, to pressurize and put some pressure. If I don't, and you said it, if I don't overdo it, yeah, if it's just to meet certain regulative expectations, well, it's not really doing any good. It has to be accompanied by the emotional track, and that is displayed in our communication behavior. We know that just quite a small part of how we communicate and what we communicate is from the mind, and a lot is non-verbal language, and feelings are part of that as well. To include that and to train people and to promote organizational members to develop, let's say, a more conscious communication behavior.
Kathrin, if someone is listening now to us and they are quiet in a burnout, they hate Mondays, you would encourage them to hear from you.
Celebrate this moment. That you admit that. Full acceptance. Stop fighting. What can I do? And I have to, I have to pull myself together, and I have to, and say, okay, stop. acknowledge the fact that now the body, the heart said, no, stop. Taking a deep breath and say, okay, now I hit a wall. Okay. That was very clear language. Here, the body, falling apart, kind of, talking very loudly, saying, no, I don't allow you to continue like that. The inner team, the mind, for instance. And the mind all of a sudden discovers, I cannot I cannot go to work myself. I need the body. That is a new insight. And, just to start that, to celebrate this as a start of an inner team integration journey. Say, great, acknowledge it, don't brush over it, and use it as clear, a clear language, as a signal, as a sign from your inner team. Now they have told me very clearly, stop with this. The mind wants this, the mind wants that, and this is expected, that is expected. Now, inhibit, take a break, and dive deep to see what's in there.
I'm curious also when, Kathrin, you go to boardrooms and talk to, in professional settings again, and then you talk about the joy, like you bring joy. We don't have to laugh, but we just celebrate this moment, have this connection to ourselves. So what kind of reactions you get? Do you see mostly people are curious, or maybe rolling eyes, or more kind of criticizing and being critical about it?
I don't do that. I don't talk about joy. I am the joy. There is no point, there is no point talking about joy. Why should I make this explicit? It's implicitly there. I spread my energy. I am who I am. And this has an impact. We do not have to address this. I do not have to bring the mind here on, to the table to discuss things. This is a habit. This is a habit to discuss everything. What for? So, it's asking for resistance. Why would I ask for resistance? And of course, it's all voluntary. You cannot, if there is not the willingness to transform, and also at least, to dive into this inner journey by at least, one or two members of the board, then I'm at the wrong place, because then it needs more time, or maybe these people just go down another path. That's fine.
So you already are connecting with people are either like-minded, or they have already the willingness. That's why there's no resistance. That's why how you can stay in flow, right?
Yeah, at least, I'm not saying that there is no resistance, but there is willingness. And then, and then the question is, what do I focus on? Energy flows where attention goes.
Yeah.
Do I focus on this resistance? Do I want to convince them about something? Or do I work on that little, and with that little antenna, and say, okay, what can we do together with a little bit of more awareness switched on? What could be the customer groups? What is possible? How can we move and turn around the entire and transform deeper the entire business? That is focusing on the potentials. And you see here also again that the art of that is really to do it. Because you see how deeply, especially in the business world, we are constrained or restrained by our own thought patterns. And don't allow ourselves to do something differently. You see, this is so deeply, and therefore, the changing or transforming, I shouldn't say change, transforming. So a deep dive, the business world is so challenging because, first of all, to do this in an impactful way, you have to lead by example. You have to be it. No excuses. Well, then first you have to be it.
Yeah.
And that is a longer journey inside. And you need to be prepared to lead by example, full stop. And that goes also for the transformation pioneers, let's say, in any organization. They have to feel the benefits, if we want to put it in mind language, of that transformation. And the benefits are a more joyful life, an easier life, in the sense of we cannot stop all these weird things happening there in the world, right? But I always have this, this gap between impulse, something I get, and decision, how I react, or do I react at all, or do I act? And that is, and especially when you do workshops or when you are in the middle of a dialogue, then this is proof of the pudding. Can you do it or can you not? Because then if we are in action, we are easily taken away by our patterns, especially if these are setups or settings that we are used to. And it's so easy to fall back in old behaviors. That needs training, consciously, on watch, always there. Sometimes we succeed better, or this shift, this transformation works better, sometimes not. And then again, it is time for the laughing loop to smile at ourselves and say, okay, well, it's a process. And what you definitely can do, trust the process, that over time, you just have to be a bit patient. Over time, you will get out of these patterns. Training, matter of training.
When I think about joy, there are two things that came to my mind now. First of all, this is something also I've been practicing, especially after reading your book, the exercises that we have at the uni. And the most important thing is, as you said, is not like to understand it intellectually, but to do these exercises. Simple stuff like asking myself, how do I feel? Frequently, making it a habit whenever I remember. And then it doesn't matter if whatever feeling is there. In the past, I was afraid to be afraid, or afraid to be angry, or afraid to just say that I feel sad, or any other negative emotions, because there are no negative emotions. And it was very interesting to know also in the science that in 90 seconds the emotion will go away. It's our thoughts that keep it. So the first thing that came to my mind, and I would like to talk to a bit to explain how most people think that there are negative emotions. There's no negative emotions. These are signs from your heart, as I understand, to tell you, okay, look, there is something. I want you to give it some attention to know why it's like this. And once you understand what's happening, it will just go away. And this is kind of what I also understand. It's guiding you towards your true self. Because when you feel, for example, fear of something, then this is a sign. Okay, why? Just be curious about it. Why I'm fearing this? Maybe just something I have the fear of doing is just an illusion, but also it's telling me that if I do it maybe in a bit of a different way, I will just enjoy it. So this is the first one of like the way to joy, as I understand it, is to understand all your emotions. Then you know how to focus your attention. As you said, attention goes where energy flows, on being joyful.
Absolutely. And guess what? I'm not even focusing on being joyful either. So it is
Okay.
just, it is coming whether I want it or not, because, it is, first of all, the important thing is opening up to all emotions. So, in my leadership training and coaching, I work with the so-called Corafa qualities. It's CORAFA. So, and this O and the C. C stands for courage, and O stands for open-mindedness. And let's include open-heartedness and create that new word here. So basically, it is to really open up. Open up what? Here we have a nice example. Mine says negative emotions, already clusters, positive, negative, black, white, bang, bang. Don't want the negative, want the positive, want joy. Okay, cool. So let's stop that and say there are emotions. Right. Then the question is, what can they do for us? Now the mind comes with an open question. Mind is opening up. What can emotions, there must be a reason why would we have them. Has nature ever created something totally useless? I wouldn't say so. No. Okay, we have them. So what? How can they serve us? One answer is, if we, over a period of time, do not meet essential needs we have at that time of our life, we develop negative emotions. Okay? So in this context, negative emotions such as rage, anger, fear, shame, could lead us, and this is exactly the point you have described, to discovery areas. So basically, we can take these so-called negative, or I say, very often retrenching. They are kind of making us feel narrow and not free. They can lead us to areas to discover where we, don't have a free flow of energy, where we are blocked for some reasons. So that is leading us also deeply into our body. We, for those who have a very open mind, we don't have only a physical body, we have an energy body, we have an emotional body, and the mental body. This is old, ancient Asian wisdom. And so we can, start to work with this idea of blockages, energy blockages, and say, fine, oh wow, cool, that I have just allowed myself to feel this, in inverted commas, negative feeling or emotion, because it is directly leading me to this discovery area, to this maybe blockage inside. Isn't that great? So this is, by the way, self-leadership. So emotions are instrumental, if you wish, as guiding us towards the development areas. We don't need anyone else for that. We are self-sufficient here. Isn't that great? Autonomous beings.
What was the last time you felt really joyful?
No.
No, okay. Great. Is there like routines you do, for example, when you wake up every day or before sleeping, or anything else that you keep doing in order for you to stay in the state?
I have a very peculiar mind that is bored very easily. And my mind is easily bored by routines as such.
Okay.
So it's a very difficult little fellow that always kicks me out of routines again. So I have this inbuilt pushing me out of the new routines. Routines are good. Routines are good, for instance, to replay some old habits, let's say, patterns, thought patterns, emotional patterns, to replace them by something new that is easier than just to leave a vacuum there and just, not to do it anymore. So nothing wrong about routines. So I don't have any fixed routines that I, with very strong self-discipline, do every day, come there what may. Yet I do have some needs, I would say. For instance, and something that is, that I feel when I do this, I feel good. And this is more like a menu that I then can choose from, when I feel like it. For instance, I love to do a yoga session. I do in the morning, which I have done this morning, by the way. So, to get up at sunrise and to welcome the day, and to feel, wow, how to just feel grateful for the body as well. So that belongs to this, or that is part of this menu. Then I also like to hike, to walk longer stretches of in the mountains or at the beaches, really strongly connected with nature, and funnily enough, that is also where I feel so connected with people I'm coaching. So I'm directly dialing into the C cloud, basically the core cloud, the overarching consciousness where we are all connected, and sending, taking little photos, sending little messages, just to feel connected. So I have this impulse to let others know that I am at this moment connected with them. So that is also what I'm doing rather regularly. Also eating very consciously something, tasteful. So like a fruit, for instance. I love fruit, and to really, eat this like an apple or an apricot, like with all my senses. That also belongs on that list that I love to do.
I think it's also you are letting yourself being experimental and adventurous and spontaneous. I think, I don't know if it's like part of the nature of everyone, but everyone has this kind of spirit, I think, and yeah, it's beautiful to let it be. Yeah.
Exactly, to let it be. And of course, I've been raised in Germany, and my mind, no. You have to have a plan for the day. You cannot just be, and that was a pattern I was struggling with, that I was afraid sometimes of, just fully let go and not, I was afraid of the fact that I was totally in emptiness and did not have a spontaneous idea what to do now. That was an interesting fear, which I hadn't met before then, before I ran into it, because, when you always have planned out and scheduled out your day, you wouldn't encounter that emptiness and, this, oops, what do I do now? Or, and so that is also a matter of trusting in your connectedness, that there is always something I feel like doing. And again, that is this is a fear I then faced and I went through, and now that works really very smoothly, that I just let the day unfold itself. And interestingly enough, every day is so different. From the outside, you would say, okay, she is there and doing this, or it looks similar, but it's totally different. That's what I love. It's adventure. It's, as I said, my mind is easily bored, and it loves new circumstances, new people, new, like what we do today. It's always these highlights of the day, to do something I haven't done before in that constellation, because it's always awareness building and it's always joyful.
So as you mentioned Germany, I know that you lived abroad, especially in Asia and Japan, for example. You speak multiple languages, and you've been open to different cultures. Now, when we are talking about German-speaking countries, is there any uncomfortable truth that you think this is like the most important thing that people can talk about and change, but most of the times they don't?
Well, this is a bit the minds, the programming of the mind. What is very strong in especially in Germany, but other also German-speaking countries, is the mind that is set up for criticize, correct, control. Criticize, correct, control. Like, well, the three C's actually of the mind. That is part, that is just part of the upbringing. Which can be, the German Besserwisserei. So this can be rather stressful at times and is not necessarily helpful in a co-creation process. So, we could look at, well, this pattern. Some have it stronger, some less, but just to have to self-observe, let's say, and say, do I detect that? Do I detect that pattern inside? And then everyone can decide, how, to which extent this is helpful or not. But it often, it's like always, when you have a pattern and you're not aware of that, then it can unconsciously create conflict where you don't want to have it. So it's more a matter of being, in command of, knowing and being aware of why you are saying things and where do these things come from. So that's one thing. And then, we are very, very strong in the or strong mind people, let's say, if we want to stereotype here a bit. But then the connection, let's say, to the heart is very often cut. Also, not because these people we cannot feel, that is not the issue, but that is just a matter of socialization. What is, we talked, just to close the loop here to the expectations, we talked about them. What is accepted or an acceptable behavior, what is not, and we learned at a very early stage to lock our feelings away, and then I just could encourage everyone to unlock them, even if it's a bit risky, or it seems to be risky, but it's worthwhile doing it.
Anything that's uncomfortable or anything that has the kind of disadvantages. I don't want to go back to black and white, but I mean, that could be also a strength in another way. So is there something that you felt that you are strong at, you felt confident, very confident, coming like from the German speaking, let's say, culture, when you went to Asia? Are there also things that you think you would like to, you like others to know about this culture that can benefit from?
In my case, it was really independent thinking and curiosity. Really, I wanted to know why. I wanted to know, I drove people crazy with that. These why questions, like lunchtime. Why is this, that, why is it? And to really to be able to understand, and and the understanding just intrinsic as an intrinsic motivation, and also to be able to do something with this, when I fully understand, I can use that and maybe create. And that this is this German Gründlichkeit in this sense, this is really profound, that the love to think deeply and to go really to the bottom of things, again, stereotyping. But that helped me a lot to find out more about my hosts, be it Japan, be it China. So that was very or is, in my view, very enriching, and curious minds in general help to help with learning. Now, if I open up and I don't go into judgment directly, then this is a very positive trait in the sense, or quality in the sense, of collaboration, of co-creation, of integration.
It's really interesting, Kathrin, because this is the second time in the same podcast now. I just noticed myself going a bit to the stereotyping. I know it's not also, again, like, it is not black and white, but I don't really believe in borders. I believe in human beings. We are all connected, but there are kind of let's say, kind of group thinking, or like some areas they kind of collectively think about some things or do some things in a different way. But yeah, when you said stereotyping, I was like, maybe I'm stereotyping a bit. It's not that, maybe I don't want to judge it, also say it's bad, but yeah, just be aware of it. It's interesting.
I mean, that is what the mind likes to do. It also needs to do, to cluster, to just deal also with this huge amount of data. So there is per se nothing bad in stereotyping. The question is, are we aware of that, and do we go beyond to look at the individual at the end of the day? That is the point. Of course, all of us are stereotyping. That is how the mind is set, set up. But now awareness comes in, and therefore the importance of this inner team again, and conscious me. Am I aware of my thought patterns, and do I go beyond? That's the point.
Is there anything that we haven't talked about, but you think it's important to mention?
I would say again, what is important, when we think of what can we contribute, how can we make an impact, and very often we feel a bit helpless when we look at the world outside, and the question is, how can we still, without being able to control any governments or anything that is any markets, how can we make an impact? How can we be, what Gandhi said, be this change we want to see? And this is my call to everyone here, is we all can make a difference. We have a positive impact. And just doing, for instance, listening to this podcast is already contributing here, because everyone who is working with his or her awareness, everyone in my terms here with the 4 me's, that is strengthening conscious me in their way, and in order to, include, coming back to the United States, to include our different parts, the different aspects, or as I frame it, the different, team players, that is pattern breaking. That is helpful to, live more balanced, to be more balanced. And this balance is the foundation for sustainable peace. Inside first, it's inner peace. And then this, with a time gap of this, leads to outside peace in the world. Now, the more people that are doing this, the stronger the impact. And isn't that a cool motivation, really, to not only to work with oneself and say, okay, I do a little bit of self-development or inner leadership, but directly to see, wow, this has an impact, because also we are all connected with each other. This has an impact, not directly maybe, but indirectly, to world peace, because we are here with this inner teamwork. We are breaking patterns. We are breaking patterns of fighting each other, the inner states fighting each other. We are breaking patterns, working against each other, thinking of expectations. Who is suppressing myself? I am suppressing myself, funnily enough, right? So if we break all these patterns, we are more balanced personally, individually, and this balance is the basis for inner peace. Inner peace is the basis, is the sine qua non, is the precondition for long-lasting, sustainable peace in the world.
Yeah, I feel more this interconnectedness. And recently, a friend of mine, she was reading a book and she shared something with me, that the way to the peace in the world is joy. I was like, how come? But then I was like, okay, I don't have to analyze it now, but I feel it's right,
Yeah. This joy is a state, again, a state of the entire inner team, of balance. This is how I understand now. Joy is this a state of serenity, of this inner all is well feeling. Although, of course, without ignoring that, if I look outside there, it's not well at all. But it's my decision. Do I let myself being dragged into the drama, into the fears, or do I stay inside, keep the balance inside, keep on shining, keep on being joyful, and thus, being kind of, contributing, and that is leading back to the first question you asked, my why, actually, and this is exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing, just being, a part of this balancing force here. And some anchors, some living anchors, let's say, who anchor inner peace and therefore also help to, make this world a more peaceful world. And if we have peace, everything can flourish. We have more, co-creation. We have, that goes in teams, that we have more innovation that is desperately needed. So this has ripple off effects for anything we do together in organizations.
Kathrin, let's imagine it's 2030. If leaders lived from their core, how would the workplace be?
If leaders work from their core, we wouldn't have any big corporations anymore. So, we would have more smaller units. You are asking 2030, so it would be a bit premature to say we would have only single entrepreneurs or solo entrepreneurs, but this is what I envisage. We would have smaller units, closer, interconnected with each other, co-creating things. So these smaller units can contribute to a bigger program or a bigger project, but it would be certainly smaller units. Plus, it is, people would be more very select, purpose-based, where the group they join. In the sense, they would look at, okay, where do I fit? Where do I fit? Where do I find people who, in their essence, are very close to who I am? So it is more a selection, or the group finds itself, the team, the organization finds itself more through being, a match of being, of having the same values, the same, or not the same, but similar basic needs, and a certain, share a certain why, their essence, and they would group, and they would be kind of like a magnet. They would find themselves. That's how I see it. And we would have also more balance in organizational development. So these leaders would live the both and thing. They would, of course, create or have money, if we still have money, of course, as a form of energy. But at the same time, look at emotional energy, the joy of co-creation, and would also look at the harmony that stems from being connected to the environment. So this is the triple bottom line integrated in the organization. That is, they would do this not because they have to, but because they deeply feel this connectedness. That is the difference. So it would be more acting out of feeling, and not an either or feeling or thinking, but feeling and thinking.
If there is a keyword that you mentioned, I've been let's say meditating about it, and that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast, is co-creation. What is co-creation? How can we co-create? And then once I started doing this, either with podcasts or other projects, I really felt joyful doing it. And I'm also, by the way, very grateful that we are having this conversation. I want to ask you now, or not, it's not a question actually, I want to give you the space if you have any final thoughts, a message, or anything you'd like to share.
Well, that was basically work with awareness, just acknowledge yourself as this wonderful inner team you are, and go beyond the constraints of the mind and feel excited about diving into emotions, feel excited about, experimenting with your body, feel excited about getting to know consciousness, and it's a real powerful thing, and to discover new worlds. That's the message.
Yeah, perfect, Kathrin. The last thing is, when people are listening to us and they want to connect with you, how do they find you?
Well, they find me, they can connect through via LinkedIn, of course. They can connect through the website of the Joy Academy. Happy to, to team up with them there. Yeah, that is mainly the best ways, I would say. Or they can find me at Tomorrow University, where we got to know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent, Kathleen. Thank you very much. As I said, I'm really grateful for the conversation we had. I'm grateful that getting to know you in the university, and I'm excited how the journey will be with the university and also with our future projects. Grateful for the book you gave me, The United States of You. I really recommend everyone, especially if someone just don't want to just read like theories, but also to connect all these team members, because there are lots of exercises, how to understand your patterns, how to understand emotions, how to be more aware of your body, to have these all team members. And also with this conversation, I'm grateful that you made me be more conscious of some patterns that, like including like inside the questions, I was keep having them a bit, but yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Omar. And it was, that is co-creation. This is so joyful to see what comes out of that. It's something new. We cannot predict it, and just, to open up the space and to fully dive into it, and to let go and let emerge whatever emerges there. That's joy for me, among others. Thank you for having me.
If you have enjoyed this podcast, feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn and to follow the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and all other major platforms. Enjoy every moment. Until next time.